Welcome back to America's Forum. I'm J.D. Hayworth.
And I'm John Bachman. Right now we want to turn our attention to Boston, an update on the ongoing story involving the Boston Marathon bombing last year. An FBI agent has been cleared now in the shooting of a man tied to one of the alleged Boston Marathon bombers. Ibrahim Todashev was killed in Orlando last May during an interview with the FBI, who were looking into a connection between him and Boston bomber Tamerlan Tsarnaev. He allegedly threw a coffee table in the air at officers, tossing an FBI agent to the floor with blood pouring out of his head. Florida State Attorney Jeff Ashton declared that the agent's actions were justified out of self-defense. And joining us right now to talk about this development as well as others associated with Boston is Howie Carr, Boston Herald columnist. Hey there, Howie.
Hi, John. How you doing?
Doing great.
Howie, it's great to have you Skyping in, and the snow in the background reminds us, at least, of why we're here in sunny South Florida. We'll get back to the story that actually emanated in Florida that has Boston overtones in just a second. But we're also hearing that the Homeland Security Committee, now chaired by my former colleague Michael McCall of Texas, is preparing to release a report later this week basically chronicling the missed opportunities to nab the Boston Marathon bombers before they were able to pull off their murderous act. When the people of Boston hear this, and when you hear this, Howie, your thoughts on the missed opportunities about to be chronicled in this official report?
Well, I don't think it's going to be too positive concerning the FBI. You know, supposedly they were getting information from the Russian security forces that this guy Tamerlan, the guy who was the brother that was killed, now a suspect in 7 murders, or was a suspect in 7 murders. He was apparently meeting with radicals in Chechnya and that area when he went back to Russia in 2012, and apparently the FBI didn't do any follow-up to this information that they received. Another rather disturbing point is that at some point in 2012, the FBI did actually interview Tamerlan Tsarnaev. And he was interviewed by 2 agents. They spoke with him in Cambridge at his house for about 2 hours, I guess. And so a few months later, after the bombing, they identified the 2 suspects, and I guess they were showing the pictures around to everybody in law enforcement in Boston and Massachusetts. And they showed them to these FBI agents who had interviewed him, and they didn't recognize him. They couldn't remember even interviewing the guy. And that's not what we used to see on TV when we were kids, J.D., with Ephraim Zimbalist Jr.
Right. Well, it certainly is disturbing. And Howie, one other note, apparently, that will be detailed in the upcoming report from the Committee on Homeland Security in the House. Apparently, one of the brothers traveling back from foreign travel in Europe at New York's JFK airport, he was cleared by Homeland Security and by the TSA because there was a misspelling of his last name, perhaps an extra Y. And again, we growing up had this feeling about the FBI fostered by J. Edgar Hoover and the Sunday evening television show that the Bureau was on top of everything, all the P's and Q's. In this case, it's horrific to hear that an extra Y was another impediment leading to the failure of our security guys to nab this.
I think it's worse than that, J.D. The younger one, who's now in custody and is going to go on trial, he had become a U.S. citizen, but Tamerlan was not a U.S. citizen, so he was carrying a Russian passport. But apparently, at some point during his travels over to visit the Muslim extremists and terrorists, he lost his passport, and yet somehow he was still able to get back into the country with no passport. Now, you know, how was that possible? I'd like to see you or I try to do that.
And Howie, as you're mentioning this, our viewers are getting another look at that infamous Rolling Stone cover where their surviving brother is given this status of a glamour guy or a folk hero. And I understand, perhaps you can chronicle this for us, being there on the ground in Boston, the reaction of some lovelorn women trying to go out and treating this guy as if he's some sort of matinee idol instead of a terrorist.
I know, it's like he's a hero from the old magazine Tiger Beat or something. His picture was on the cover of Rolling Stone. when he was brought in for his initial court appearance into federal court in Boston last summer, there were about 20 or so of these teeny boppers or groupies or whatever you want to call them, and they're all talking about how much they love him. And one of them actually said I'd be glad to have Zokar's baby.
Whoa,
I mean,
Howie,
this is how sick it is.
I mean, this is happening out in a public street. You know, the people of Boston are not known for holding their tongues. What was the reaction or response?
Oh, people were yelling at them. I mean, it was a madhouse. That was the same time Whitey Bulger was on trial too. So there was just all kinds of cameras around, security everywhere, and people were yelling at them. And since then there has been a what amounts to a puff piece in the Boston Sunday Globe about the family, and about how they called them homegrown terrorists because they'd been over here for 10 years. The Globe said they were always short on money. Well, as we all know, if you're not working and you're subsisting on welfare totally, you probably are going to be short on money. None of these people had jobs. The Globe in sort of this puff piece, sort of trying to explain why they went crazy and killed Americans. They're saying, well, they weren't really welcomed into the country, and
wow.
But they forget to mention the mother. The mother can't return to the country, JD, because there's an outstanding warrant for her arrest for shoplifting. The Tamerlane's widow had a shoplifting warrant down in Rhode Island. One of the sisters of these two terrorists had left a restaurant in Dorchester without paying. There was a warrant out for her, which she recently cleared up. I mean, the whole family was criminals, and now it turns out that this guy that was killed in Orlando last May. Apparently, according to a document that was released today, he was actually writing a confession to killing 3 drug dealers in a suburban community in Boston when he went crazy and attacked the FBI agent and the Mass State Police. And it's actually on the internet. Boston Magazine has got it on the internet this morning.
Well, it's hard to believe that the Todashev here, who you see this picture, and the Tsarnaev brothers, that was just 3 people. There has to be more folks involved in this, and I would imagine the FBI is working to track down other people. Have you heard anything to that respect, Howie?
No, I mean, but John, the fact is, this guy Tamerlane. If this is true, the 3 drug dealers and then the 3 people that he killed in the bombing, and then the MIT police officer that he killed later, that's 7 people that he murdered, and at the age of 25. I mean, I've written a lot about gangsters in Boston. I don't think too many of them had a body count of 7 at the age of 25. These people were precocious, you might say.
Yeah, in a very sick way. Howie, we appreciate your update, and as I'm sitting here thinking about this, John, I just wonder how the Boston Globe is going to portray the man the FBI killed in self-defense. Is he going to have exculpatory remarks made about well, he took care of drug dealers, he snuffed them, so somehow it's desirable? It's a bizarre way of looking at things.
They're already claiming that it's an FBI cover-up.
Of course.
You know the way it works, Jay.
All right, Howie, we got to run. Good talking to you. We'll talk to you again soon. And stay tuned here to America's Forum. We'll have much more ahead, and you can always reach out to us and find us on social media at Newsmax TV, #America's Forum.